And we're here at the International Energy Forum in Cancun, Mexico. And I'm joined now by the Secretary General of the International Energy Forum, Mr. Noé van Hulst. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, here we are, 2010, a great occasion. What's so significant, actually, about this meeting?
Well, it's always very significant that an IEF brings together, the energy ministers of producing countries and consuming countries. And there's no meeting of energy ministers in the world that is so large and so diverse as these kind of meetings. So in itself, that is already very significant. That's number one. Number two, I think this time we really have a very special IEF because we're also talking about the future of the IEF, the further strengthening of the dialogue and of the International Energy Forum.
Now, looking back since 2008 when we had the last meeting in Rome, a lot has happened in that time. Bring us through that briefly.
Yes, it's been, I think, a very turbulent time for everybody. We've been through a tremendous roller coaster with oil prices. If we think back of that 2008, when we saw in the summer 2008 really oil prices going through the roof and then going down, sliding down even, it was up to $150 a barrel almost, and then down to below 40 by Christmas in 6 months' time. That was really so extreme, this kind of oil price volatility. And I think that what we have seen from that experience is that I think both producing countries and consuming countries have now really acknowledged that this should not happen again. I mean, this kind of extreme oil price volatility is bad for producers because it harms investment. It is bad for consumers as well because they don't know how to plan their energy policies. And it's bad for the world economy as a whole. So I think this is really an experience that I think we're all trying here to learn from for the future.
Now, of course, over the last 2 years, too, you've had a lot of conversations, dialogue with people, too, and only this year you had a visit from the Secretary of Energy from the US, Stephen Chu. How important is it, that you're actually in that discussions, and he's coming to visit the IEF in Saudi Arabia as well?
Well, it's extremely important that, both the significant producing countries and consuming countries, that they all take part in this dialogue. And I think this is also one of the conclusions that we have drawn from this experience, that in order to tackle these issues, really we need a global approach. And the IEF can bring that global approach. It can bring in the major producing countries. It can bring in the major consuming countries as well. And not only, if you talk about consumers, IEA, but also the major consumers outside of IEA, like China, India. And on the producing side, also the major producers outside of OPEC, like Mexico, where we are now, or Russia. And we need actually the permanent engagement of all these key players in order to make the dialogue work.
So, having expanded the dialogue, has it actually improved as well?
I think we are all working now towards the further improvement of that dialogue. Because again, going back to that experience and that of this extreme oil price volatility and the harmfulness of that, I think all of us now acknowledge more than ever that we need a more productive dialogue, a more result-oriented dialogue, a dialogue that talks about all the issues, even those that were maybe previously thought to be a bit taboo, like what kind of prices do we need for investment and these kind of things. So I think, yes, we've come to the conclusion that the dialogue needs to be about everything that really affects the market now and in the future.
And in the past few years, too, what have actually been some of the tangible results that have actually occurred? What have you done?
Well, I think one of the tangible results is definitely still on data transparency, which remains the flagship activity. And I think data transparency, improving historic data on oil, what is happening in the oil market right now, and in the recent past, what is happening with demand, with supply, with stocks is extremely important so that the market knows what is going on. But we are moving now also more towards the data on future supply and demand. What is happening with investment? We are starting to work on that together with other organizations, IEA, OPEC and others. Again, in this global approach so that the market is better informed about demand-supply balances in the future. And again, this is very important to stabilize the market and to limit volatility. So that is now underway as well. We have another activity underway also to move into natural gas. That sort of wasn't there 2 years ago, but we are now moving into a dialogue also on gas, natural gas, where similar issues play a big role. With ministers and gas producing and consuming countries putting together in a forum. Also working on data transparency there, because the data transparency in the gas market is also going to be an extremely important issue that we need to tackle. Then apart from that, we have organized many events which didn't exist before, where we bring together experts from producing, consuming countries on key topics like carbon capture and storage. If we want to tackle global warming, at a global scale, again, we need producing and consuming countries working together how we clean up fossil fuels, how we make consumption, production of fossil fuels more environmentally sustainable. So you're talking about things like carbon capture and storage, for instance. We're talking about an organized events on the cooperation between national oil companies, international oil companies. Obviously a big topic for the future. And the reason why you see here in Cancun, in the International Energy Business Forum that we also organize before the real IEF ministerial meeting kicks off, you see so many CEOs from both NOCs and IOCs. So on all of these issues we try to deliver also what we call grassroots dialogue, a dialogue which is not only at the ministerial level, at the highest CEO level, but also at lower levels of experts working together, looking at issues and coming up with recommendations for ministers and for CEOs.
Now, of course, all that data is under the Joint Oil Data Initiative, the JODI initiative, something that is getting a lot more visibility to over the last while. What are the plans for JODI, as well as the gas?
Yeah. Well, JODI, I think, has been doing very well, indeed, since the last 2 years. We've been improving a lot. I mean, countries have been improving a lot in terms of their submissions of data, the timeliness, the completeness of their data. But I have to say, we improved a lot over the last 2 years. Now it seems to be stagnating. So we need also to tackle that. Why is that the case? What do we need to do to further improve? Because we are not there yet. Yes, it has improved, but much more needs to be done in order, again, to inform the market better. For instance, in the area of oil stocks, outside of OECD countries, we need to know more what is happening so that we can judge, that the market can judge where the demand is going in the future. So these are all important things that we need to further improve in JODI.
Now, you mentioned the business forum, and indeed this is something you've had before, but this is gaining tremendous popularity, particularly this year, and again, tremendous importance.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I think I'm extremely pleased with that, to see that so many, indeed, of the company CEOs show up here, that they see the interest of talking together and also interacting with energy ministers and making energy ministers aware of what are the crucial issues for them in order to make the investment happen. Because let's face it, everybody talks about investment and the investment that we need or to cover the energy demand, but who has to make it happen? Though that are the companies. So the companies have to feel secure. They need to feel the investment framework, so that they can invest more and better in the future to have stable markets. So I think that they see that they need to pass these messages on to energy ministers, and I'm very happy indeed that they are more and more actively engaged in this kind of dialogue, not only actually at the CEO level, but also at the level of experts, which again is something that I keep stressing. The grassroots dialogue is also of increasing importance. This is why I talk about sort of the maturing dialogue. It is not only anymore at the tip of the iceberg, the CEO level, but it goes down to expert levels, where we have engaged hundreds of people over the last couple of years, and we will continue to do that.